Welcome back. Today, I cannot wait to share a message that I received yesterday, actually. And when I read it, I got full body goosebumps and I actually got teary eyed. It was a message from a previous client who attended BRAVE-cation in February 2023 and later did Brave Academy. And when I just read it, I felt so stinking proud of her because before working with me, she struggled with anger and rage for more than a decade, and she went to therapy for 10 years. Now, over the weekend, she had a conversation that could have been heated, that would have been heated in the past for her. And instead, even though we're not actively working together anymore, she was able to embody everything that she learned and stay grounded. She said, I left that conversation with peace, clarity, and confidence. I was proud of myself for not getting upset, angry, or loud. And in that moment, I was able to stop and think about how I wanted to respond rather than having a knee-jerk reaction of anger that would have never gotten me the answers and the clarity I needed out of that conversation. I feel so good and confident. Thank you. I'm so freaking proud of her. And this is not a one-off. This is her new normal. Imagine that being the case for you. And it reminds me of situations where women feel like they have been doing the work for so long. Remember, she was in therapy for 10 years. Maybe you've been in therapy. Maybe you've been doing the work for months, for years, for decades, and you're still struggling. Can you resonate with that? Doing the work, the journaling, therapy, the coping tools, maybe a wide variety of things from hypnosis to meditation to, I don't know, energy work, all of it, trying to stay positive, but still something feels off. Maybe you've been feeling exhausted. Maybe you've been feeling discouraged. Maybe part of you is starting to lose hope, or maybe you feel like you already have. And you may be wondering, am I ever going to feel any different? Is anything ever going to work for me? Maybe this is just the way that I am. If that's you, this episode is your reminder. You may actually be closer to healing than you think. Even if you feel stuck, even if it's been years, and even if you've started to doubt whether healing is for you, I'll share with you, I felt stuck for the vast majority of my life before a moment that changed the trajectory of everything for me. And I'll share more about that at the end of this episode. It had been years. I had been to therapy, but I felt stuck. Now, today, I'm going to challenge some of the sneaky beliefs that keep high-functioning women stuck in survival mode longer than they need to be, and I'm going to share what actually moves the needle, what worked for me and what works for my clients. Let's go ahead and dive in. Here's a lie. Healing takes forever, or healing only happens when you're ready. It's one of the most damaging narratives that I see in the healing space, yet I hear it all the time. If I tell you healing is going to take a long time, do you think it will? Absolutely. If I tell you healing only happens when you're ready, do you think that will be the truth for you? Absolutely. I don't want to hear anymore. I need to be fully ready to heal. Readiness is not a feeling. It's a decision. And I could go on and on and on about how many decisions and choices you are consciously and subconsciously making in every single moment and every single day. And honestly, that is actually part of the work, is becoming aware of that. Most women I work with, they don't feel ready. They feel scared. They feel skeptical. They feel worn down. They feel tired. But somewhere, maybe deep in their gut, they knew, I can't do this the same way anymore. Something has got to change. And that tiny willingness, maybe even a quiet maybe, was the match that lit everything else. I want you to just to pause and to feel that. If you're in a spot where you're able to close your eyes for a moment. Take a deep breath in. Let's do a second one. What if you're not actually stuck? What if you are just standing at the edge of the next version of you? And that lingering discomfort, it's not failure. It's your nervous system whispering, let's do this differently. I want to give you an example of Rachel's breakthrough now. I'll tell you about her. I changed her name just for her own privacy because she requested that of me. She came to one of my BRAVE-cation retreats years ago. I think it was back in 2022. And she felt unsure of herself. She said things like, am I even the type of client that Dr. Steph works with? What if this doesn't work for me? What if my child needs me? Maybe this is just the way that I am. My parents have always said that I'm just too sensitive, and I've always been like that. She was a mom. She was a helper. She was a perfectionist, even though she didn't recognize it. And she was a woman who always showed up for others, but felt overreactive. She felt too shy, too introverted, and overly sensitive. And she wasn't sure that she deserved a retreat, but she came anyways. Not because she was certain, but because she was curious and she was ready for a reset. And by the end of that week, I want to share with you what she said. I'm going to directly quote her. Now, when she says chick, she's actually talking about me. This chick is the real deal. She helped me realize that there really was a root cause and quickly identified what the root cause was behind the behaviors that had been showing up for me since I became a mom. I thought I was just an anxious person and that it was just the way that I was. I had an eye-opening revelation about my life, and despite going to therapy previously, I got way more out of the retreat than I was expecting. It was a game changer for me. Now, that wasn't a result of a perfect mindset or a polished morning routine. It was the result of showing up. It was the result of embracing a proven approach and participating in an exercise that she told me she did not want to do, but she found a part of her that was a little bit willing. So she showed up a bit more than she would have in the past. Okay. That is a typical experience for women who work with me. I'm going to dive into 5 signs that you're closer to healing, just like she was, than you might think. And you may not feel it yet, but these are indicators that healing is already underway. First one, you might have started to notice a spiral sooner, even if you haven't always been able to stop it. You might start asking, what do I want? What do I need? Even if you struggle to meet it. Maybe you're no longer pretending everything's okay. Maybe you cry and you let yourself feel it rather than ruminating about it, or maybe rather than numbing out. And you're here. You're still listening and you're still showing up. Healing is not a tool. Healing is not a way to cope better, and it's not a finish line. It's a practice, and it's coming back to who you are at your core without the insecurities, without the fear, and without the negative patterns. Now, it's not that you are absent of insecurities, absent of fear, and absent of negative patterns. It means that you no longer let them control you. You choose differently. I've shared this before, but I'll share it again. I thought that I was broken at my core. Like, I thought that something was wrong with me. When people would tell me, like, oh, just be yourself, that was one of the most terrifying, truly, things that I could hear because I thought all of the things, like my not so shiny parts, were who I was. and that everything else was me pretending to be someone else. So I struggled with emotional breakdowns where I was hyperventilating regularly for decades. Okay. And I thought that's who I was. I struggled with rage and outbursts of angers, and I thought that's who I was. I struggled with anxiety and worry every single day, and I thought that's who I was. It wasn't. There were things that I was doing, mistakes that I was making daily and weekly that were actually perpetuating those negative patterns and those cycles. I didn't know, otherwise, I would have stopped. But there was a moment in October 2013 when everything changed for me. And I'm going to say a little bit more about that at the end. Now, here's what changes when you say yes to healing rather than settling for coping, which is what most people are doing. What becomes possible for you when you go all in. I just want you for a moment to imagine this. Imagine feeling at ease when things do not go according to plan. Imagine hugging your kids and not feeling that ball of tension in your chest. Imagine trusting yourself and trusting your intuition more than your fear. Imagine waking up without dread. Imagine responding differently than you would have in the past. Imagine not second guessing your words, your worth, or your next step. Imagine feeling calm and at ease rather than feeling stressed and overwhelmed. Imagine creating space for all of it, all emotions, rather than feeling controlled and consumed by them. And imagine letting go of the weight that has never been yours to carry. That is not some far off fantasy. That is what happens when you stop managing the symptoms and you start embodying the four pillars of the BRAVE method. That's what happens when you stop trying to earn your healing and you start receiving it. This is what I want for you. And it can be challenging to achieve if we just think about the day to day. You've got so much going on in a typical day to day. And a lot of people, they'll carve out, 30 minutes here or an hour here, and something is better than nothing. And it can be different if you want to do the work. In 2013, it was October 2013, I walked into a 5-day retreat. If you've been following me for a long time, you may have heard me refer to it as a workshop. I've used different wording. I'm talking about the exact same situation. Okay. I walked in and I was someone who identified as high functioning, perfectionist, anxious, emotionally reactive, and felt broken at her core. 5 days later, I walked out a different human. I could not see the world the same. I could not see anyone around me the same. I couldn't see myself the same. And although everything wasn't totally solved in 5 days, the pieces came together and the light bulbs came on in ways that I had never experienced in my entire life. And the entire trajectory of my life changed in less than 1 week. And this is what I want for you. And this is why I created BRAVE-cation. Healing happens the fastest in a regulated, in person environment. And when you get out of the swirl of responsibilities and you get into a space of calm, of psychological safety, and embodied guidance, where someone who has quite literally been in the trenches for decades can guide you through a proven process so that you can break free just like I did. That's when everything changes. Now, BRAVE-cation is an all inclusive, immersive, and experiential retreat where I guide high functioning women like you to reset your nervous system, not just learn about it, to let go of perfectionism and people pleasing without guilt. And I show you how to do it without guilt, to break free from negative patterns that you have felt stuck in, giving you the key to break free immediately. to see clearly how you have been getting in your way over and over and over again, and to feel peace in your body again, maybe for the first time in years. It's not another mindset workshop, it's where deep healing lands in your breath, in your body, and in your full being. If you're even curious a little bit about this, I want to invite you to join the priority list for BRAVE-cation. All you need to do is go to www.brave-method.com/priority-list, or go to the show notes and just click that link directly. When you get your name on the priority list, you are going to have access to BRAVE-cation to enroll in BRAVE-cation before it opens to the public, and spots fill quickly. They fill quickly because I only host it one time a year. And you're also going to get a free meditation. It's Return to Center, which is a nervous system reset for women who have struggled with holding it all together. Remember, you are not broken. You're not behind. You're not too much. You are enough. You're a woman who has held so freaking much, and you have still had the courage to look for more. Healing is not some far off destination. It is a brave decision that you get to make, and you're closer than you think. Until next time, take that brave step.